What's up, people of the earth? It's your nerd with the word, and welcome to That's Your Nerd TV. And today, guys, I am here to talk about my memories with the PlayStation 2 since it's the 20th anniversary of the PS2. It's crazy to think that I've lived long enough to see a 20th anniversary of a console, and one that became a legendary console at that. The PlayStation 2 console is a console that is very dear to me because it was the first console that I've ever played. The abundance of video games released for it is crazy, and this console has one hell of a library for all genres. This console was the first console to introduce playing movies on a video game console, which expanded consumer interests. It became the best-selling video game console of all time, and the amount of games that was released from the PS1 continuing to the PS2, and games that started on the PS2 became big hits and all had their own cult followings. The Grand Theft Auto trilogy with Vice City, San Andreas, GTA 3, Yakuza 1 and 2, Silent Hill 2, Final Fantasy X, Ratchet and Clank, Resident Evil 4, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Fatal Frames 1, 2, and 3, and Tekken Tag Tournament and Tekken 4, and so on. What I gave there was just a small amount of hits released for the console, because if I were to name every one, this video would just become a Wikipedia vid at that point. My memories of this console can date as far as back as to 2006, and it's crazy to think that it's been 14 years since 2006 has happened. The games that I remember fondly are fighting games, because those games are the games that are the easiest to get into. Whether it's beating the shit out of the CPU or your friend, you can do it with or without knowing the specials. Dragon Ball Z fighting games were the ones that I remember the most, since those were the ones that were my first entry into fighting games. The Dragon Ball Z Budokai series is a 2D fighting game series with 3D character models, and does as well to be genuine as possible to the anime, with all the cutscenes adapting scenes from the anime. I remember those fondly, mostly Budokais 1 and 3, since those are the ones that I remember owning when I was younger. I remember in one of the Budokais, I remember that when he was getting close to getting to the Planet Namek arc, you had Goku who had to train for the Planet Namek arc, and you trained with the Vegeta dummy, which I fucking hate so much because he was so hard to train with. I remember being so pissed that I think I either broke my PlayStation 2 or threw the controller on the ground because I was so pissed to fight him. The way they had him hyped up just added salt to the wound. It pissed me off trying to fight that stupid fucking Vegeta training dummy that was hype as fucking killing me every time. Anyways, aside from that, the Budokai series is a truly nostalgic game series because it was one that I played religiously so much when I was younger. I remember when I was close to beating Budokai 3, and I was so into the story, and that was like when you reached the Cell arc, when Gohan turned Super Saiyan 2, I made sure to get perfects on all the Cell Juniors because Gohan had a huge increase in power, and it got me so into it that I just wanted to show that you just shouldn't fuck with Gohan. I remember when I beat the Cell arc, seeing Trunks go back to his time and seeing the credits rolling, it was a truly proud moment for me as a kid because it was one of the first times that I ever beat a video game. I played the shit out of this game with my brothers and of course by myself with the story mode. I love the Budokai series and I'm very glad that this was part of my childhood. Aside from the Budokai series, we have the Budokai Tenkaichi series, which made the transition from 2D to 3D. I grew up with only Budokai Tenkaichis 2 and 3, and I never owned one, and I did play it a couple years back, and let's just say, I'm glad that I grew up with 2 and 3. The Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi series is my favorite Dragon Ball Z fighting game series, period. Especially 3. 3 was the most definitive 3D Dragon Ball Z fighting game series that there was. I just couldn't get into the other Dragon Ball Z games that was released after Budokai Tenkaichi 3 because I just did not like the controls and the 3D graphic models that they used for them I just couldn't get with. Budokai Tenkaichi 3 is my favorite one out of the Budokai Tenkaichi series. I played the shit out of that one and I've beaten that game like 10 times and sometimes I still go back here and there just to play the story mode. Outside of the Dragon Ball Z games, I own the Grand Theft Auto games and I owned all 3 of course. Vice City will be my favorite one of all time since it has that 80s summer vibe going for it and it gave me Scarface vibes as well. Tommy vs. City looked badass and clean as fuck in them different outfits. I loved when I stole a car or a bike from someone, he'd be insulting them when I stole something from them.
My need is greater than yours.
I love the neon colors with the weapon selection box, and I love the 60s to 70s old-timey cars, the sound of the motorcycle when revving it,
They even like to share. Tell your kid.
and the sound of the engine coming from the car when I was driving it. 3 is an all-time nostalgia for me, of course, since it was the first one before Vice City, and that one was cool as fuck too, and I love the character design since he was cool as fuck as well. There's not much else for me to say about 3, but San Andreas is one that I can definitely talk about. I like how this one is set in the hood, and CJ and his boys got that gangster shit going on, and I love that you got drive-bys, shootouts, and gangster battles. It was just fucking awesome. This one is a definite nostalgia for me, and one that I put a lot of hours into. My favorite GTA when it came to cheat codes was mostly this one, but that was because I fucking loved the jetpack cheat code, which was my go-to one. The Grand Theft Auto trilogy for the PlayStation 2 is one that I definitely gotta revisit, because it's funny how I played the shit out of all these games when I was younger, but I never beat them. I only got 25 to 30% into the story of each one. Anyhow, that's all I gotta say when it comes to the GTA series, but one that I definitely gotta talk about before I end this video off is the Tekken series. I fucking love the Tekken series to death, and that's a definite fact. I played the living hell of that series with my cousins and my brothers like it was a religion. Tekken Tag Tournament will always be my favorite one because 1, it was my first entry into the Tekken series, 2, the opening scene is always fun to see before you actually play the game, and 3, the character rosters of all the different characters and the designs. Anytime I watch the opening scene on YouTube or anywhere, I always get taken back in time because it just left so much of an impact on me, and it's just very nostalgic for me to see because it brought me back to a time when I was younger, just with my cousins and brothers, not knowing shit, and just having fun. I can't play right now because it has a blue back, and that's a common problem when it comes to PS2 games and PS2 systems. There's a laser, sometimes it'll die with some colored PS2 games, and unfortunately those are one of those games. I'll eventually get a new PS2 in order to play it, but right now I'm just pretty happy owning it. The PlayStation 2 console will be one of my favorite consoles of all time because 1, the fact that I grew up with it, and 2, it was my first console are major reasons. This console will go down forever in history as being one of the greatest video game consoles of all time, and I am proud for the fact that I've actually grown up with it and played enough titles that are considered one of those greats. Alright guys, that's all I have to talk about. I'll see you in my next video. Let's end this off like usual. Nerds, gamers, power to the players. See ya guys.